meditation. Let's take that idea of a wonderful world into our consciousness. We live in a wonderful world. Let's say that together. We live in a wonderful world. And hold that in your consciousness. And let's say it again. We live in a wonderful world. And as we begin to tune into that place of awareness for ourselves, that place of understanding of our own divinity, that place of understanding that we are the place that God shows up. Imagine your perfect and wonderful world. Where is it for you? What's held in your perfect and wonderful world? It's available to all of us. Allow yourself to breathe in that thought. Not only breathing it into your mind, but also hold that thought in your heart. Your beautiful, radiant heart. For as we align with divine mind, as we live the essence that is us, which is our divinity, we can expand the edges of that wonderful world that we create, that we share with each other, that we take forth every place we go. Allow yourself to feel it in your body, bringing that sense of wonder, that interest, that childlike curiosity into this present moment. And consider in this moment those things in your world, those things in your life that are wonderful. And as things that are not so wonderful may emerge, as they are wont to do at times, let the wonderful things simply embrace them. Let the joy and the love and the peace that you do feel embrace those times of strife, those times of fear, those times of concern. We're not trying to get rid of anything, but we're simply bringing love and light to all. All the different parts of ourselves that show up in all the different times of our day. For truly there is only love. And let's take that thought into the sacred and holy silence. And ask yourself, am I willing to expand my capacity for a wonderful life and a wonderful world? Am I willing to expand my capacity to give and to receive love? Am I willing to live each day as the place where harmony and peace are truly the foundation of love? Notice what comes up for you as you ask those questions in the quiet, in the silence. And as you receive the gift of the answer, whether it's in this moment, or as you're driving home, or tonight as you prepare for sleep, or tomorrow, are you willing to take the step to put that into action? Are you willing to live from a place of peace? And when you notice something that's unlike peace emerging in you, are you willing to take a breath and say, I'm willing to create a wonderful world. How might I bring harmony to this situation? Whether that situation is inside of yourself or between you and another, or it's something that you're observing between others. How might I bring peace and love and joy and harmony into this moment? As we come back to this time and this place in this room, let's say together, I live in the consciousness of my divinity. Together, I live in the consciousness of my divinity. I'm willing to be peace in the world. Together, I'm willing to be peace in the world. And as the lights come up, look around and look at the faces that are around you. Look at the love, the God beings. And say to somebody near you, I see the face of God in you.
Oh, wait a minute, God. I see the face of God.
What a joy to be here today. It's always an honor when Margaret texts or calls and says, hey, will you come and speak at Unity of Myrtle Beach? I'm always a yes if I have my schedule clear. I'm so happy to be here. Yay! Nice to be well received too. I want to talk to you about the power of commitment. So we all know people who struggle with commitment, right? I've been one of those at times. We often think about commitment as being in a relationship, but we can get committed to or uncommitted to lots of different things. The first question I really want to ask you is, how many of us, and I'm saying us because I'm including myself, how many of us are living the life of our dreams and have everything that we want in life, right here and right now?
Close.
Yeah, close. Yeah. Yay. That's part of the power of commitment, is that ability to do that. And if we're not, and I'm one of those who's not fully doing that, I have to tell you, what is stopping me? What is keeping me from doing so? Because Unity writer Catherine Ponder tells us, you can have everything if you know the power within you and then dare to use it. We can have everything if we know the power that is within us and we are willing to use it. It's a two-step process.
Know and dare.
The power within us, what is that? That's the presence of God that we are. Not that simply lives in us, but that we truly are. And when we learn to align with that presence, come into that divine energy that we are, it's not that we plug into it, it's not that we tune into it, it's a recognition and a knowingness. It's beyond knowledge. It's a knowingness that that's who we truly are. And the action step is to step forward and begin living what we know. I go to a lot of seminars. I teach a lot of classes. I cannot even imagine, which is why it's not happening, what my life would be like if I actually employed and applied every single thing I've taught. I can't imagine it, which is why I'm not living it. Because first, everything begins in the mind. Everything starts as a thought. And I'm not quite there yet. And I'm moving in that direction. We in Unity talk about thoughts help held in mind, produce after their kind. Now, what we think about, we bring about. So part of the power within is in the daring to use it. And that word is a beautiful word that Catherine Ponder used, daring to use it. It takes boldness. It takes a little bit of a level of audacity to be able to say, hey, I can, I will, I'm willing, and I'm committed to creating everything in life that I want. Yeah, it takes a level of audacity because there's going to be somebody that's going to say to you, you can't have it all. And yet we can. And from the hands raised, many of us do, which is beautiful. It takes knowing what we want to some degree, and then it takes being willing to do what it takes. So I want to tell you a story. Whatever you can do or dream, you can, so begin it. Boldness has genius, power, and magic in it. Have you ever done something that just felt like it came about so easily? Where your intention was clear, your commitment was present. And I have this 3 different people up here because a lot of people think this is Goethe in Faust. And he did a variation of this. A guy named John Anster in England decided to rewrite Faust a little bit and publish it as a free publication in England so that the masses could read it. So he changed it a little bit. And then when William Hutchinson Murray came along and wrote it just a little bit differently too. So it's actually attributed to all 3 people here. But the cool thing is not that 3 people take credit for it, but when we echo each other's words, we're actually giving a gift of recognition to the person. But here's the thing I really want to tell you about this quote. This quote came from William Hutchinson's book that's called Mountaineering in Scotland. William Hutchinson loved to climb mountains. He thought it was one of the most fantastic things in the world to climb a mountain. And he did it regularly. And when World War II came along, he was called into service, and he went into service in the Middle East and North Africa, and he was captured. And when he was captured, he was put into a concentration camp. And his passion, his commitment to writing was so clear for him that what he did was he began writing the book, Mountaineering in Scotland, on the only paper that was available to him. And it was toilet paper. So can you imagine writing a book on toilet paper? He's writing it. He gets quite a ways into the book. He's almost finished with it. And the guards come along, and they take it from him, and they give it to the Gestapo, and the Gestapo destroys it. What would you do? Just take a moment and think. You don't have to answer. But what would you do? Here's your creative process. Here's your baby. When you write a book, it's like your baby, your person baby. And somebody comes along and they take it away from you and they destroy it. Would that stop you, or would that spur you on to do it again?
Write it again.
And that's exactly that. Spurring on to do it again is exactly what happened with Mr. Murray. He began again, much to the puzzlement of some of the folks that were in the concentration camp with him. Why would you do that? Why would you do something? They're just going to take it away from you again. Have you ever heard that with your dreams? Why would you do that? Nobody's going to let you do that. Or it's just not going to work. Those are some of the voices in our head that we allow to be the obstacle to stop us from doing the thing that we're committed to. The thing that calls us to our passion, that calls us to our genius. But Mr. Murray did not allow that to happen. In 1945, his book, Mountaineering in Scotland, was published, and he went on to publish another book. And let me tell you another little side story to this. When he was captured, there was a German soldier that had a big gun. I didn't tell you the kind of gun, but it shot shot bullets and it shot him rapidly. He had a big gun. And Murray was sitting in the truck and he didn't have a coat on. And the soldier, the capturing soldier said, "Aren't you cold?" What Mr. Murray said to the soldier was, "It's as cold as a mountaintop right now." And the guy looked at him and said, "You mean like climbing a mountain?" And Mr. Murray said, "Yes." And the soldier put his gun away. And they rode together with no guns. And talking about mountaineering. They talked about climbing mountains. Even in the midst of what could have been difficult, what must have been scary, here was a point of connection from a place of passion. Two individuals on different sides who connected through climbing mountains. To me, that's the magic and that's the genius and that's the power that these men are talking about. That willingness to put aside whatever is we think is between us, that appearance is something that is between us and either ourselves, because I don't know about you, but I have some things that are between me and myself that keep me from doing some things. Judgment is one of them. Fear is another. That voice inside of my head that I can label on somebody else but is now integrated into me, and it's actually a voice that I've taken on and continue to use to stop me from reaching my commitment. You guys have any of those voices?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. When we get committed to something, we gather an energy that the God, the universe, whatever word that you want to use is supporting us to move us forward. It's like we have to then take the step, and sometimes that first step is scary, and sometimes the second and third and the 15th step may be scary too. But once we start taking the step, we build a momentum, and we get ourselves moving. And usually when we make a big commitment, an obstacle comes up. So whenever I talk to some of my friends, I'll say, "Oh, wow, this is coming up for me." And I have one particular friend who will say, "Well, did you make a new commitment?" She recognizes it. Did you make a new commitment? Other people say, "Oh, that means you're not supposed to do that." She'll say to me, "Did you make a new commitment?" And each time I've made a new commitment, it's almost as if the universe is saying, "Did you mean it? Did you mean it? Are you willing to move through the obstacle? Are you willing to do the difficult thing to get to the magic?" And we think it's magic, but it's actually spiritual law in practice.
Amen.
That's all it is. What we think about, we bring about. The law of mind action is what Unity's co-founder Charles Fillmore calls it. We have mind, we spend time in meditation, we get a divine idea. Then are we going to take that divine idea into expression? So take a moment and think about an idea that's been percolating in your mind, percolating in your life. Something that you want to do. Are you willing to put it into expression? How do I know what I'm committed to in life? Look at the results. That's really all we have to do. Look at the results. I can look at my bank account. What am I committed to? I can look at my weight. What am I committed to? I can look at my exercise routine, or the lack of it some days. What am I committed to? Oh, it's too hot. It's too cold. It's raining. What am I truly committed to? Because there are ways to exercise in spite of the hot, in spite of the cold, in spite of the rain, in spite of the snow, which we don't have down here. Sure. I allow obstacles to come in my way unless it's something I truly want. So think about what kinds of things hold you back. What kinds of things stop you from moving forward into that thing that you want. Think about it for a moment. I know for me, it usually comes down to fear. And that fear, when I take it a little further, is a fear of not being good enough. It's not usually about judgments of others. It's usually about a judgment that I'm holding inside of myself that I've picked up somewhere. And so I'm living in that place of fear rather than that place of my own divinity. And when I'm willing to get committed, to move through the obstacle, magic happens, which really isn't the way of saying principle plays out. Because if principle occurs for me, it's going to occur for you. When I was growing up, I wanted to change colleges. I went to Arkansas State University for 3 years, and my dad was a professor there. I paid $2 a semester hour. Well, I would go for $30. You know, $30 for a whole semester of college because of my dad being a professor. Which sounds really good. The thing that happened, though, was that I would go to class or not go to class. And by the time I got to my dad's office in the afternoon to catch a ride home, he knew whether I had been to class or not been to class. He had received the phone call. He knew my grades before I knew my grades. And I was ready. I was, 20 years old. I was ready for a little bit of separation. So I asked him if I could go to the University of Arkansas, which is across the state of Arkansas. And he said, there's no reason for us to pay money for you to go to the University of Arkansas when we don't have to pay very much for you to go here, and it's good education. So I started getting committed. Commitment is a process. I decided what I wanted. I figured out how to get a student loan. I had my parents fill out all the material. They were willing to do everything but sign it. So I started, this is where my rebel comes out. I took swimming. I took weaving. I took pottery. I took a trampoline class. I took all kinds of things that had nothing to do with academics. And my dad said to me, I know you. You'll continue to do this till you're 21. And I said, yes, it's a year away. He said, if you can find a place to live in Fayetteville, I will sign the papers. You have to pay the loan back, but I'll sign the papers. I said, that's a deal. I don't know if he believed I could do it or not. It was across the state. But this is where I so appreciate spiritual communities. I was part of the First Baptist Church in Jonesboro, Arkansas. And that office manager, the First Baptist Church in Jonesboro, called the office manager of the First Baptist Church in Fayetteville. And I had a place to live. It took 15 minutes. Wow. I went back to my dad and said, I have a place to live. He signed the papers, I got the loan. My oldest brother drove me to Arkansas. The power of commitment. I didn't stop because the obstacle of my dad saying no to signing the papers occurred. I did not stop with the obstacle of saying, how can I be in Jonesboro, Arkansas and find a place to live in Fayetteville, Arkansas? I got committed. And once we get committed, the way will begin to open up. Once we're willing to step past the obstacles, the way opens up. It's amazing to me. And I'll share a more recent example. A couple of weeks ago, it's actually probably a month and a half ago, I was on a faculty call with the new Unity Institute, the Unity Worldwide Spiritual Institute. I was on a call, and one of the things that they did was they broke us into what they call breakout groups. So it's myself and 2 other ministers. And one of the ministers dropped off the call, and I knew the person I was talking to. Her name is Ellen Davenport. Oh. And she's taking 2 spiritual education enrichment classes called Myrtle and Charles on Healing and Wholeness 1 and 2. And she's been putting them together into one class. Well, next week I will be in Orlando, and I was slated to teach Healing and Wholeness 1 and Healing and Wholeness 2. I knew I was going to teach those 2 classes, and here I am talking to Ellen Davenport on this call, and we didn't really need to talk about anything related to faculty. And so I started asking her, how did you put these 2 classes together? Had this long conversation with her, knowing that I would be teaching the 2 as separate classes. And then Wednesday, I'm at Unity Wilmington, and I'm working on the prayer box. I'm processing the prayer box. I'm making the telephone calls for people who want prayer. I'm praying over the other prayers, and my phone rings. And it's the coordinator in Orlando. And she says, hey, I have this this thing I want to tell you about. She's a little nervous about it. We decided to combine healing and wholeness 1 and 2 so we could teach in one class. Now, how could I have known a month and a half ago that this would occur? It took me actually a day to go, wow, I had that conversation with Ellen. I had taken notes on it because I wanted to teach as good a class as I could teach. Now I have the formula for combining the 2 classes. And then she said, since we have you down here, will you teach this other class? And I don't have any idea. I've never taught that class. I'll put that class together in the next week. But it was like, wow, the universe has supported my commitment to excellence in teaching.
Right.
Who knew? And how often do we look back on our lives and we see the support and the love and the tenderness and the care that's been there for us because we're willing to take a look and we're willing to be committed to whatever it is that we're committed to. It's powerful stuff. So how do I know what I'm committed to? I simply look at the results. When I first came into Unity, it was 2005. I met a man, he was a priest, and he's called Brother Christopher. And I said to him one day, how do you have so much joy in your life? And he said to me, if you'll follow spiritual principle, you will find the way. And it was a couple of months later that I was sitting in an SED class and somebody was doing a meditation. It's called a Phoenix meditation. And what we do is we look at all the things in that meditation that we wanted to release in our lives. And we let them go. We start imagining them falling away from us. And we bring forth and let emerge that thing that we most want in life. And what I said at the time was, I want to live in ever-expanding waves of joy. I wasn't experiencing that in 2005, but I can tell you, I experienced that in 2017. So, it's a beautiful thing. I put it on a piece of paper and I put it on my refrigerator door so that I said that affirmation every time I went to the refrigerator. I said that affirmation every time I walked past the refrigerator because I had to go past the refrigerator to go to other parts of my apartment that I was living in. That was my commitment, and that's now my experience. So we can do it. Get committed, take the action, move through the obstacle. It's very easy. Eric Butterworth tells us, you were born to achieve, to release your inner power, to fulfill your uniqueness. We are all unique expressions of God. We have gifts. Some of our gifts are different than each other, but we have gifts that allow us to be a full-out expression of God. We have gifts that allow us to live our lives from a place of wanting to get up every morning because there's joy in our lives, because there's excitement, because there's creativity, because there's something that is calling us out of bed. Something that's exciting us, something that's igniting passion within us. And it makes life fun. It makes life joyful. Even in the midst of what might be the appearances of things that go on around us, we can be the ones that bring the harmony. We can be the ones that bring the joy and the love into every single situation, including our relationship with ourselves. So how do we do that? We seek God first. Seek ye first the kingdom of God, and it's God's good pleasure to give you the kingdom. There's the circle. When we seek God first, when we align ourselves with our own divinity, that which we truly are, then the ideas that come forth are going to be ideas that create the life of our dreams, the life that we want to happen. Because we're coming from that level of consciousness, that high degree of consciousness. And then when we're willing to make the commitment and then take the action, it starts to unfold. One of the things I love to do is listen to stories of people's manifestation. They're exciting. The stories are fun. And they help us to remember that we can do the same thing when we live in principle. So my invitation to you guys is to support and encourage each other. This comes out of Hebrews. support and encourage each other in living your dreams and creating everything that you want in life. When I first started the creative process, I started with parking spaces. It was easy. And I would try to get the closest parking space to wherever I was going. And I would be amazed that that parking space would manifest itself in all kinds of ways. It usually wasn't waiting for me, but somebody would be backing out and there was a parking space. It was like, wow. And I would say, thank you. And I'd pull into the space. Now, as I've gotten older, I'm trying to manifest the parking space furthest from the door. A little exercise in the process, but I'm still able to manifest parking spaces. I've done it with cars, I've done it with homes, and that's fun, and there's nothing wrong with that. And I've begun to do it with joy, with love. I've begun to do it with delight and wonderment. How much fun can I have? And many of you who know me know that I ask this question every single day. How much fun can I have in my life today? How can I expand my capacity for enjoyment in the world? And how can I touch others as I do that, inviting them into living their own full-out joy? So as you together as a spiritual community are growing, support each other. Ask each other regularly, so what did you manifest this past week? What was the best part of your week this past week? Every night before I go to bed, I have a conversation with my partner. What was the best part of your day today? And we don't just list one thing. Sometimes it takes us 5 minutes to get through the different things throughout our day that we really enjoy. And sometimes they're with each other and sometimes they're apart. So being able to share what was the best part of your day and have it take a long time is a gift to me. It's a big gift to me because I want to live in ever-expanding waves of joy, especially since we live in an expanding universe. And I have found that when I'm in resistance, I simply need to come home to my commitments and make core commitments in my life. And one of them is that I have a relationship that runs predominantly on positive energy. And I've been able to create that. Coming from a family that I wasn't so sure I would be able to create that, I've done it. If I can do something, you can do something. Because there's no private good. So my invitation is to encourage each other. My invitation is to invite strategies and ways of stepping over the obstacle when it comes up. Invite love. Invite joy into each other's lives as you invite it into your own. Because we know that what we give out comes back to us. So when we're celebrating the success of another, that celebration and that success both will come back to us. So, are you willing to stay with me? And I want you to think about it a moment. I'm committed to living full out. So if you're willing, say it with me.
I'm committed to living full out.
Let's say it again.
I'm committed to living full out.
And the next commitment, I'm committed to support others to live full out as well. Together,
I'm committed to support others to live full out as well.
Wow, I can't wait till the next time I come back, which is actually next week. Hear what you've been doing, and to hear the joy and the love and the harmony and the peace that's showing up in your life. Namaste.